Have you ever wondered where storage tech began, how it works, and how we got to where we're at today?
You know, briefly. But let's see how deep we can go on this.
Let's go back, way back. Stone tablets.
Ooh. I've never actually used one.
Yeah, well, you're about to. It's the new tech for the city. We're going to give you a chisel, a stone tablet. No, we're not going to go that far back. We're going to go back to 1804.
A little before my time.
The beginning of punch card technology.
Okay.
The technology where they would poke holes in cardboard sheets, run it through a mechanical reader to basically compute out data in general.
Is that what those were, cardboard sheets?
They were cardboard sheets. And they could store 80 characters.
What? 80 characters?
You figure that one out. 13 million sheets becomes 1 gig of data. Imagine being that guy.
Oh my God, 13 million. I mean, that stack would cover this table plus some.
That's a room of sheets.
Because those were thin little sheets, but still.
Now, of course, the technology came out really early, 1804. It was actually the idea of being a programmable machine, but not really used heavily as a mechanical usage until the 1890s.
Well, let's jump forward a little bit more modern to 1839 or so with the microfilm. Something that people may actually have heard of and know. So you got the photographic roll of film, which people are good for data storage. People at least have heard of those.
They might have even seen it if they've been to our library.
Yes, libraries. I think that's about the only place I think you can still come across a microfiche and microfilm. But
maybe we can dig it out of your basement.
So thousands of rolls of pages, 2,400 pages would be approximately 120 megabytes, all the way up to 1 gig, depending on the size. Depending on how much tape. Because now you're not limited to a punch card size. Now you have tape. So the longer those rolls of tape are, the more data you could store, all the way up to the gig. Lifespan, you're looking at 500 years, which is why we still see them today, because they haven't hit their 500 years yet. They're 200.
Yeah, and little known fact is it was used in World War II to actually hide data within the letters. So you could actually take pages of data, hide that document within the letter, and they use it to smuggle data.
Yep. So the best part about that was now instead of having stacks and stacks of punch cards, you had a mass amount of storage. We'll say mass for the time, mass amount of storage on a little bitty disk. Easy to transport, easy to carry. Just, the lens would enlarge the microfiche, and you had easy, compact storage.
Yeah. Now we roll forward. 1951, we begin magnetic storage. Now, this isn't magnetic storage necessarily like you think of in hard drives. This is magnetic storage on basically reels. Okay? Think cassette tapes. Think your backup storage today. So it started off, it was about 1 to 2 megabytes per reel.
Megabytes.
Of course, sequential access. Like I said, those cassette tapes. Today's that same diskette style in same footprint can store about 45 terabytes and is used in enterprise archive backups.
So what used to be megabytes back then is terabytes today.
Yeah, and they instead of storing as basically optical pictures, they're now starting to store in magnetic particles stored onto the tape. Right.
All right. So from there. We're in the 50s. Let's stay with the 50s. Go up to 56. 1956. You get we'll call it the first hard drive. So IBM did their 305. You're talking about 5 megabits. You had basically a 1 ton.
Room.
Yeah, room. It's a 1 ton platter or 50 platters. I mean, that's not when we think of a 5 megabit drive now. You're typically not thinking of a one. I can't even fathom this big 1 ton machine.
Imagine being able to walk into your hard drive.
Yeah, that's the best part. It's just saying it, you can't until you actually see how big this thing was. It's massive.
Because they weren't even sealed at the time either.
Correct, yes. The gas sealing was a new thing. So the more moderns, you're looking at 32 terabytes plus. I think
we're still on consumer line.
Especially on consumer line. We're still growing. I mean, the 1632s, I feel like that's pretty standard now. That's nothing to blink an eye about. Someone says, I got 16 or 32. You're like, oh, okay,
you bought a drive. Good.
Yeah, you bought a hard drive. That sounds right. So with the magnetic domain speeds, you were talking with 100 to 250 megabits.
Yeah, depending on the drive.
You're not talking anything fast. But for the time, that was a 1 ton drive doing 250 megabits. You were screaming
great
for the time. Yep. Read-write heads, they'd convert the binary data, your ones and your zeros. They just flip it, charge it or not charge it. So Plain, simple.
Yeah, moved from storing particles on the drive to actually inverting the magnetic polarity of the disk.
Yep, and the best part about those heads were they floated. We're talking nanometers. It's less than your hair. They would just float over
Absolutely
the top of those.
Insane. And of course, that technology is still used today and advanced in data centers as well.
Yes, still around.
Now let's jump forward. We see another advent of an optical storage, right? The microfiche. Now the microfiche moved from being a film-style storage to being individual cards or like little placards. They would store about 200 images per card in a grid layout, and still though viewed using light and lens to basically enlarge it. I mean, it's impressive for the technology when you think about the camera lens to actually get that data compression onto a single sheet. Still not as much as a drive, but impressive for the time.
Yes, moving up to 71, the big 8-inch floppies. These are ones that I've seen, never got the chance to use one, but I mean, you're talking a medium...
That's how you know who's older. I have not seen an 8-inch floppy. I've seen the 5 1/4, which we will get
I bet
to.
you we can get on like eBay or something. I can go buy one. Probably collector's edition out, probably hundreds of dollars.
I was going to say you're going to pay for it.
But yes, I mean, you're talking like a medium-sized pizza right there, like just this huge floppy. Yeah, 80 kilobytes. So we're moving up in the world, you know.
Store some data.
Yeah, a 250 kilobyte transfer speed. So we're still not.
Which also means then that you can fill that drive really rapidly if you could actually write it with the computer.
Yep. Magnetized for the bits of storage. So we're still staying with the magnetized. We're still a little storage. Read-write speeds haven't really changed, but now we're out of a 1-ton server room down to a 8-inch floppy.
And now you have a distribution method because you can ship these things across the world.
You can share this information.
Easily.
I can't share you a 1-ton, but I can share you a little 8-inch flop. Little 8-inch floppy.
Little 8-inch floppy. You move forward. 1976, we get to those 5 1/4. Really, the improvement that we see there is they're now a 110 kilobyte to a 1.2 megabyte disk, still in that 250 to 500 kilobyte per second type read-write range.
Almost double now.
Still using really the same technology.
Yep, they just managed to shrink it, which is how technology's been going. So after we get from the 8s to the 5s, now the 3.5s. So now you actually have 110 kilobyte, or 720 now. So we've really started jumping in size. The 2.88 megabit transfer speed. So, you know.
2.88 megabyte storage and extended.
Yep.
Transferring still very close to that 250.
Yeah, but now you have the 15 seconds to fill.
Which is still, I mean, it's impressive that you could fill the disk that fast until you compare it to today's standard where you're like,
absolutely.
Well, that's good. You stored it.
But now I'd say this is the first real portable storage. This one you'd have to work because the original 5s and 8s, you bend them, you flex them, you break them, storage, it's gone. You lose it. There's no coming back for that. At least these little 3.5s had a hard case on them to where they could protect.
As well as the slider that covered the
yes, now you got the first slider to actually protect the disk.
Which the 5 1/4 and 8 kind of... They didn't think about data protection at all.
Nope.
In the same point, in 1982, at the same point in time as the 3.5 floppy, we saw the advent of CD-ROM tech. Now, CD-ROM tech changed from magnetic storage to using a laser to write lands and pits, basically melting that reflective surface or the surface right below your coating and storing the data that way. You could store 650 to 750 megabytes of storage. And it would store at about 1,550 kilobits per second. Sorry, had a moment there.
Yeah. All right, so now we're moving up from 82 to 91, going up. SSDs. So this is really the first sign of SSDs. Early, 1.1 to 5 megabits, 50 to 100 megabits in the early 2000s.
Not the screaming tech that you're used to today.
Not when I think of SSDs, not what I think of, but you know, this is the first of it, 91. So we're back a little bit in this. Still the nano flash technology, no moving parts now. All those moving fingers, disks, everything, it's gone now.
Gone. Now using electron storage, basically writing storage in terms of voltages. Of course, in long-term storage, you screw yourself a little bit because you have to keep a charge to keep the data. But you're moving forward in time.
Correct.
Now, 1996, we see, again, stepping back to CD technology, it advances to DVD technology. We're now at 4.7 to 8.4, 8.5 gigs. It's done in that way by switching the laser to a red laser. shorter wavelength than what they started at, but using the same idea of pits and lands to store it.
Yep, and they also got the multi-layers in there too.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. We're finally moving up to layers. So now you go to the 2000, USBs are becoming very popular this time. I mean, anybody remembers the 2000s when USBs came out? You'd put them on your keychain. You had them everywhere. Like, USBs were the thing.
Get away from floppies.
Get away from the floppies as quick as you can. Get on this little flash drive here. 8 megabits internal capacity was normal. I mean, not what we think of, but this is early 2000s. Flash chip. So now you definitely have something that's safe. You're not worried so much about it getting damaged. 12 megabits was about where you're looking at storage. You're not really screaming anything, but you got some storage on there.
Still, you can fill your drive still in a couple seconds yet. You're still talking like...
Still that 1.5 megabit transfer speed. Still not screaming, but now you have real portable, easy, quick access to something easier than a CD or DVD that you have to worry about damaging.
And portable.
And portable.
You're talking like, well, at the time, let's be honest, about that size. It's not the same.
Not the thumb size.
Small that we're used to today, but still quite small.
Still okay. Yeah, about the same. Storage, now we're going up to today 40 plus gigs. I mean,
that's a lot of data moving per second, and you're talking of disk sizes of about 1 to 2 terabytes in that same footprint.
Yeah. So the terabyte size, the speed, I mean, 40 gigabits per second now is screaming compared to the 1.5 megabits they had back when they first came out. Size has only shrunk slightly. But
yeah, one, if you've watched our USB episode, we also touch on what's coming with USB tech going to the 120 gigabit per second. Yeah. And at that point in time, USB technology, of course, is going to follow that. Imagine being able to transfer that data that fast.
It's coming. It is working its way.
And again, it also stores using electrons, using floating gate transistors at that point. 2006. We advanced the DVDs to Blu-ray technology. We're now using a blue and violet laser, and we're storing anywhere from 25 to 128 gigabytes per disc, which is impressive, again, for the optical storage. Yeah. What they had to change, though, is they had to go way closer to the surface of the disc. So now that data is sitting at 0.1 millimeters below the surface of the disc, so they also had to harden the disc to make it viable.
You don't want to burn that off because it's going to be unusable.
Don't drop it and hit a couple rocks.
Yeah. So then 2006, you go just a little bit more forward, 2007 time frame, the SATA SSDs. So now you're getting the speed, which 2007 is when the consumers really got the ability to actually use. And
when they get to see them finally.
This is when we're actually using them. 50 to 100 megabits per second. I'd say that's some good speeds there. Yeah. Today, you're looking at 500 to 550 megabits per second, so 5 times faster.
But basically max the bus.
Yep, bus speeds. Exactly. Yep. That's what's capped you out. But you're moving now. 32 to 64-ish internally. I think, of course, you got the SATA interface. So it's
and now you can buy those drives. You can buy them with 4 to 8 terabytes in that same interface. But we also see now in 2013, NVMe technology comes out. Initially, as it releases, it comes out with 128 to 256 gig models, running at 700 to 1500 megabytes per second. So, definite improvement in speed, and that's really just because the NVMe PCI buses open that speed cap up rather than advancing the SATA technology. Now, today we see 1 to 8 terabyte drives in that range.
Yeah, that's the big thing is your laptops now, no more spinny drives, no more if it falls off your lap, you got to worry about the fingers damaging your platter. You now have this nice, decent-sized SSD inside, and it saves you on battery life, saves you on processing time. I mean,
saves you on thermal
the heat
impact as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things to the technology. 2013, we're still moving forward. We haven't really came with anything new recently. We've just been developing the older technology.
We've been basically pushing NVMEs further to use the PCI enhancements of PCI 4 and 5, which steps this up into 7,000, 14,000 megabytes per second, which is absolutely screaming in my mind.
Which goes along with the USB technology. If you would watch our last video, USB technology has now gone from 1, 2, 3, 3.1, 3.2. It's developing 4s, 5s. Yeah. So with the smaller technology and the faster speeds and the bus speeds, I think that we're due for something big to happen.
Yeah. One, if you step into the enterprise side, we're seeing 100 terabyte drives, and that's really where that 14,000 megabytes per second really comes in handy. Because imagine writing a 100 terabyte drive at floppy disk speed.
Yes. If you go back to the old 8s, or it doesn't even matter if you go back to the 3.5s, the original CD-ROMs going back to 150 kilobits per second.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to write terabytes at kilobits per second,
you're talking decades.
You're going to be there for a minute. You're going to be sitting for a minute. Get a couple of snacks.
Now, as we wrap up, what tech do you still see today, and what's kind of basically vanished from the platform where it's really non-existent?
So, microfilm, microfiche, two big things that I know still exist. You have to go to your library. You have to go to the library. But all the old papers, old documents, if you ask them, I'm sure they still have one sitting around.
And I'd say probably you're going to see those technologies exist really in read format. Let's do write format. I don't know if anybody's still writing to them.
I think they're transferring all those to hard drives and stuff now to digitize everything.
If you're out there doing it, let us know. Otherwise, I mean, the things that I think we could say definitively have really disappeared, floppy drives.
Yep.
I don't know that I've seen a floppy drive in a computer or used.
Even their big brother, the zip drive, for its brief moment of coming out.
Yeah, we didn't even touch it. We didn't even touch on it because it was
in and out.
It was kind of like the Betamax kind of fight it along, kind of
just like the little mini disc. Remember, mini disc came out for a little bit, and then they realized, well, you got a full CD and you got dual layers. Why would you?
What was Blu-ray's fight?
Blu-ray, the laser disc,
HD, DVD.
The laser discs are the big ones that came out at the same time, or just before them.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Microsoft heading up the disc tech, but discussion for another time.
Tangents as always.
All right, but. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and hopefully you learned something today. And if you like what you see, like, subscribe, and comment for some more.
Catch you next time.